Hello and welcome, everyone. We're here today again, another live with CricketSong, and I'm here today with Dru, she who walks between the worlds.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for agreeing. Honestly, I was like, I knew I had the live scheduled for today. I was like, who can I talk to? Dru, I'm going to see if she's available.
Always.
Yay. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Hi, Shadow Sun. Hi, Chrissy in chat. We're going to talk about, at least we're going to start with a conversation about magic versus witchcraft. And I know Dru had a video up. She did a live, actually, in January. We were just talking about when that was. So I will, after the live here, I will link to that video so you can see her musings and ramblings about the difference.
Yeah, I kind of wish I didn't do it in a live. That format got away from me a little bit.
Oh yeah, when I was trying to rewatch it, there's a conversation about labels in there for a
little. Which was not my intention at all.
And you said that in the live. But I think you made some really good points, and I know I commented on it. So if people want, plus go check out her channel anyway. But there is definitely some really good topics there. But that one in particular, I like that topic, which is why I'd like to start there. Although we have tons of topics we could discuss. But yeah, so in your video, what was the point you were trying to make?
Well, so honestly, I was just trying to articulate the headspace that I've been in, which essentially was this me thinking about just sort of questioning, okay, is witchcraft magic? Is magic witchcraft? Are they the same thing? Are they, can you have one without the other, for example? And it all stems from what I feel like I'm doing and where my magic is going. And I feel like my magic has always been witchcraft. Like for me, the feel of it and the correspondences and all that good stuff, you know, the herbs and whatever. Whereas I'm moving into this space where it's more about just subtle. It's a lot more subtle. That's, you know, like I'm not necessarily going to need to always reach for an herb. All of the spells that I have done as of late have been purely spoken word or gesture or something of that nature. There's not been any correspondences at all. And so I knew that that's where I was going. And it was, again, this idea of, okay, so if witchcraft is magic, which like is magic more than that? Is magic bigger or more encompassing than that? Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to hear other people's thoughts on it, which is why I did the live, but it didn't work out quite the way I had hoped.
Yeah, and I think it's a great conversation to have because, you know, I think some people will use the words interchangeably.
Yeah, and I have, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I personally...
Go ahead. No. I think that because I think when I'm saying I'm doing witchcraft, I am saying I'm doing magic.
Right.
But I've come to realize that I can be saying I'm doing magic and not be doing witchcraft.
Right.
And that might not be true for everybody, but I have realized this about myself. Right. And so that was kind of where I was going and trying to hear other people's ideas and thoughts about that.
Right.
Or experiences with it.
Right. Because I honestly, I think it comes down to I love definitions. I think it really comes down to our definitions of what magic is and what witchcraft is. Because if some individuals only believe and define magic as witchcraft, then all the other things they may not even consider magic, you know. Right. And you brought up in that live, you know, Reiki.
Right.
Is Reiki magic? Is Reiki, which I wouldn't define Reiki as witchcraft.
No, definitely not.
But maybe someone else does, you know, maybe someone else considers that witchcraft. And then there are all different types of witchcraft within what we do.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, law of attraction practitioners I honestly believe they're practicing magic, but I don't think they're practicing witchcraft.
Agreed.
Yeah.
For me, I think it comes down to this. If the boiling point is that there are truths, and I'm not here to tell everybody else what these truths are, but I do absolutely believe for myself that there are certain laws, if you will, that govern all that is. And they're there, whether we understand them or realize them or acknowledge them at all. And so there are a lot of times where people are using different language, but we're saying the same exact things. And this is kind of part of my thought process with the whole thing. It's like, you may be saying law of attraction, with someone else may be working with something like concepts or laws or whatever you want to call them of as above, so below, in order to manipulate things in a very similar, if not the same manner. Yeah, I don't know. I think it also stems from, it honestly, on some level, it does stem from the label conversation for me, because it's like I'm trying to expand beyond these labels. It's like I don't want to be boxed into this little shape that looks like this, and that, you know, witchcraft looks this one, or magic looks this one way, or, you know, whatever it is, and sort of trying to stretch out and expand the way that I look at these things. And for me, it's easier to do that with magic than necessarily witchcraft. It's easier to expand out into magic. Not that witchcraft isn't huge, because it absolutely is. But I just feel like, for example, I've always used sacred geometry in magic.
Yes.
That is not witchcraft. Nobody's going to call sacred geometry witchcraft, but I have successfully used it in my witchcraft, in my magical practice, many times.
Yep.
So that's the kind of thing I'm just trying to, I guess, lean more into, that kind of thing. It's absolutely inspired by Osset's influence, and now Toth and whoever else is going to be coming in, and what they're guiding me toward, what they're teaching me, the materials that are coming to me, and my way of thinking about magic is shifting, because before it was very just sort of folk magic, and now it's moving into something very different.
I totally get it. Sacred geometry and Thoth. Anyway, yeah. Oh, you just lit a little fuzzy. But yeah, I mean, if I look at how I define magic, and I like Aleister Crowley's definition, anything that you're doing that's manipulating the energy through will, capital T, capital W, true will, and your emotions, you're doing magic. But that doesn't take into consideration correspondences. It doesn't take into consideration herbs. It's just saying manipulating that energy. So in any way that you're manipulating the energy through Reiki, through sacred geometry, through whatever, you're doing magic. Right. And I think you brought it up in the live, I think witchcraft is magic, but magic isn't just witchcraft. Right.
That I agree with that wholeheartedly. And that was kind of where I was going, and kind of wanting to hear other people's thoughts about that. I think for me, I was starting to feel again like there were these walls, and again, it could just be my perception, but there were these walls being built around me that said witchcraft all over them. I've even recently, I forget what it was under a video, I think, a comment, and it was just, the person was irritated that someone might refer to themselves as a magical practitioner rather than a witch. And I thought, those are not necessarily the same thing, though. Like, just because you are a magical practitioner does not make you a witch.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. To me, they're not, they can be intertempeable, but they don't have to be.
Exactly.
In my mind.
Exactly. I agree. And I think I think it depends on the individual, because my witchcraft, all of it is is not just witchcraft either. I mean, sacred geometry also plays a part in mine. Reiki, I'm a Reiki master teacher, but that isn't witchcraft, but that's part of my witchcraft.
Right. Right.
You know, there are other things that I do that someone may look at it and think that's not witchcraft. No, it's not generally witchcraft, but it's part of my witchcraft.
Yeah. It is my craft, and I am making magic. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Making magic quite frequently, and like, you know, without all the
accoutrements.
Thank you. that you would associate with witchcraft.
Right. Which I love all that. I do love that so much, but I just don't want to limit myself. And I don't want the way that I do things, think about things, or say things to limit anyone else either. Like I'm trying to expand. Especially I've come to, like, I got on YouTube, and my channel's not huge or anything, but I got on YouTube just to kind of hang out and to talk and to share my thoughts and to meet up with like-minded individuals and, you know, learn some stuff, whatever. And I've come to realize that there's more to it than that. Like, you do have to have some level of responsibility for what you're doing. I'm still just going to be me and do whatever, but I'm just moving forward. For some time now, I want to be more mindful of the impact that the things that I may say or do on my channel might have on someone else.
Yeah. I think if we're honest and authentic, then I think that's, I mean, like, honest in what we're sharing. And I think we do that a lot. I mean, generally anything on my channel is my opinion.
Right.
You know, it doesn't make me the all knowing and sharing guru, please, ever, never. Because witchcraft is such a personal practice. Magic in itself is also a personal practice. I mean, it's your relationship with your energy and the energy of those that you interact with, whether they're physical entities or not, you know. What do you guys think in chat? Magic, witchcraft, what are your thoughts? Is it the one and the same? Oh, I'm going to share this. Halsey K, names. Being able to develop your own practice is one of the best parts of magic and witchcraft. Yes,
agreed.
I think so too.
It's one of the things that I think the diversity of paths or, you know, interpretations, I guess, that you can take within magic and witchcraft is one of the most beautiful things about it. Personally, I don't want everybody else's craft to look like mine. For one, I enjoy, like, when I see something different in someone else, or when I see that I am different in some way, like, look at that. And, you know, it gives you something to think about, because clearly they see things through a different lens, or have been exposed to different things, or, you know, so I personally think it's lovely when I can find those little sort of divergence. I don't feel like one of us has to be right or wrong in some way, in that, like, it's just different, and I might get something out of that.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I mean, looking at other magical practitioners' practices and their experiences, I think for me, allow me to expand and learn and grow and maybe adopt some of the things that work for them with my own flavor in my own witchcraft and my own magical practice will enhance my practice. And some things that I've done didn't work for me.
Right.
And I realized that, well, I'm not supposed to be doing it that way. Let me go back to this way. And then I'll watch a video or hear about someone else's experience with something, or an energy, or a crystal even, and try that. And, oh, hey, wow, it didn't quite work out like they suggested, but look what I got out of this.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to adopt that because that's a new vehicle for me. I think that's, for me, all about learning, growing, and becoming. I love that word. Becoming the witch I meant to be.
Yeah. I think I love when I watch someone else's content or, you know, read a blog or whatever it is, and I get sort of inspired. Like, it feels really good, but then I also feel a bit of a connection with that person at that point too, which is lovely.
Yeah.
It's part of what community is, you know, finding those little connections. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So we're talking about the difference between magic and witchcraft, if there is a difference. Hello, everybody that has joined us. So if you're watching and you're in chat, how do you define magic? How do you define witchcraft? Are they one and the same? Are they two different things? And if they're different, how are they different? How are they similar? Would you be offended if a witch defined themselves as a magical practitioner? Or a magical practitioner defined themselves as witch? Are they, if someone says, I'm a magical practitioner, do you automatically think that they're a witch? That's a good question.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally do not.
I do not either.
I don't even know that I have. I mean, I would be hard pressed to give you a really succinct, specific definition of both witchcraft or magic. Harder for me for magic than for witchcraft, but yeah, I mean, I can, you know, look at what other people have said they are, but and a lot of times we'll often agree, just like you quoted Crowley a minute ago, but I think they're difficult to pin down, because witchcraft, for example, is such a diverse thing. And then also what is labeled witchcraft depends on who's doing the labeling, kind of. There are people who we would shove into the witchcraft box who themselves would not want to be in that box.
I agree.
From different cultures and whatnot around the
I was
world.
just thinking that too. Different
Right.
cultures are definitely where it, for me, where it, if it's not European magic, witchcraft, then I would think that, oh, that person's practicing witchcraft, unless they were to say, I'm practicing whatever they call it. Oh, so it's a form of magic, would then be my thought.
Right. I probably would, in my own mind, equate it to witchcraft, just as, again, as like a catch-all bucket of magical practices. But once a name was given to me, you know what I mean? Like, if I just saw someone and didn't know, I'd be like, oh, magic, witchcraft, like, you know, but if they were to say, whatever, this is Santeria or whatever, I'd be like, okay, that's Santeria. But like,
right.
But we're in the same, you know, area. We're so yeah, I think it's kind of tricky. I just feel like, for me, I chose, okay, we're going back to the labels. It's hard to separate the two, because which is a label.
It is a label.
I chose that label for me because it was kind of like a FU on one hand, and then I felt very empowered by that label, and I think I will always identify as witch, but I do also very much nowadays identify as a practitioner of magic, even more so. Like, again, I think it might be about trying to expand myself. It's like, I used to label myself pagan, and while that label still applies, it's not the label I would give someone today. Like, I would just go back to what I started with, which was mystic. I'm mystic, and then you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I mean, you might have some vague idea, but you don't have, you know what I mean? It's not as easy to put it in.
It's not.
You might be like, okay, what does that mean exactly? And then I can tell you what that means. So I think that's part of this also, for me, this debate, what brought about this thought of what is witchcraft, what is magic, are they the same, you know? Because I was trying to be more comfortable in my own skin and be more accurate with myself and others about what it is I am and what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we say the word witch, at least for me, specific things come to mind. Oh, this person says they're a witch. Herbs is one of them.
Right.
It's a big part of witchcraft, I think. Some form working with herbs in some way. In some way, that person is using herbs.
I would probably make that assumption as well. Because all the witches I've known have. Like I haven't.
Right.
I know I have one friend who identified. See, and even she's like, well, I don't really know if witch is the proper term anymore because she's not. She doesn't, she used to, but she realized like the herbs weren't her thing. And like her practice, like she still does magic, but again, it's more magic than witchcraft. She's in this weird in-between space too, I think. But like she's also reevaluating her things. But the same kind of thing. It's like, well, am I really a witch? Am I really practicing witchcraft? What does this mean? And like, ultimately, we will call ourselves whatever we want to call ourselves, and everybody else can kind of take a step back because I don't really care. But
exactly. Well, I think it's almost like the conversation between high magic and low magic.
Definitely.
Yeah. And yeah. Yeah.
To me, that's the first step. That's the first step between, witchcraft and magic, like stepping from maybe like folk magic into high magic and being like, oh, okay, this is something very different.
It is.
It's similar in some ways, but
it's magic.
Yeah.
It's magic, but it's a different approach to it.
Absolutely.
It definitely is a different approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very different, right? I find that so interesting that you are experiencing this working with who you're working with.
Yeah.
Because it like goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
For real, at least from my experience, from my personal experience.
I don't see how it couldn't when basically high magic, I mean, that's where it started. Like they didn't consider it high magic, but the people that came after them were like, oh, okay, we're going to take some of this and do this thing. And so obviously, but like I've jumped, like I've never studied. I've never studied, like I've looked at high magic, but I've not actually gotten in there because it just didn't call me. So I find it very funny, but it's kind of like I jumped over it. Like I went from folk magic to Kemetic Heka, you know what I mean? Like, so there's this like in between that's kind of, because at first we had this conversation. I was very nervous. I was like, I'm not into high magic. I don't want to do this. And like, but that's not what I'm doing. It's some weird amalgamation of a mystical, ceremonial. It's very weird.
Right. And I didn't get into the formal high magic practices that if you go on YouTube and type in high magic, like, that's not what I'm doing, but it made sense. It's funny because I feel like you and I have like, you're
switched.
Yes. But it made sense for me coming from a Roman Catholic upbringing into Wicca, which is sort of high magic and low magic, ceremonial and folk, and then fell into working with Isis and Thoth and Anubis and the Egyptian pantheon, which was sort of more high magic than folk magic, and then transition now into a very much of a folk magic. So for me, that growth was now, somewhere very wild and feral and earth, and which is so far from the high magic, which the focus was more enlightenment and ascension and internal. It was different. But I find that really interesting. I'm really curious about more people who have worked with or are working with Hermeticism and that Egyptian pantheons and how it works for them. Wondering if there must be a common. There must be a common.
I don't see how there couldn't be. For me, I'm not trying to be a reconstructionist. Again, we've talked about that before, but I have this deep love and reverence. So obviously I want to, it's like again, my daily devotional. I just sort of did what I felt called to do. And then the more I learned about it, it actually didn't need to evolve very much. I was happily surprised about, but it evolved a bit into something that was reflective of what she would have received in ancient Egypt. The best I can do, because Egyptian like deity worship is ridiculous. It's like there's no way like a modern human being could keep up. But
well, like I said before, the culture, where we are as human beings, where they were, as it's very different.
Yeah. Well, it was the underpinning of their whole economy.
Right.
Like, yeah. Right. Let's see. We've just gone off into left field.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. Let me actually look at what people are saying, because I know I asked people to share the Witchcraft and Magic. If there's anything. Betwixt and Between did mention that 40 plus years as a pagan witch, I'd never tell someone how should they define their path and practice. Yeah, definitely. Oh, and Shadow Sun. Okay. So I like to equate this discussion of magic and witchcraft similar to when you can be pagan and a witch, but not every witch is pagan.
Yep, agreed.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was it. Nobody else is chiming in. I think this topic is, I don't know. What were you going to say?
Well, I had forgotten, but it's interesting because when you were talking about your progression and what it looked like then versus now. So yeah, for me in the beginning, I would define my path as more shamanic, and I've come to some realizations about the like juxtaposed nature of my path, like what has happened, which I can talk about if you want. But in the beginning, it was very sort of mystical and instinctual, and it was about having a relationship with the plant and like communicating back and forth. And then so I built all these relationships with like crystals and plants, and and like they are living beings from like they're so that was sort of that part. And now we're into this leg of the journey. It's about balance, I know for sure, but like right now what's being kind of pounded into me is sovereignty. It's about being sovereign over so many things. Me being sovereign over my body, my mind over my body, me being sovereign over like just everything. And it's gotten into obviously hermetics and the Kabbalion and like all that all that stuff. So I'm actually moving into very weird spaces that I've always been open to and that I've always like resonated with and believed, but now I'm being urged to really step into that and like to start trying to manipulate things in a way that I would never have done on a more shamanic witchcraft path per se. That's the direction this sort of shift is taking me, and to contemplating things seriously that sound insane when you say them out loud.
I love those things. The things that I contemplate, even if I were never to, practice or do, but we are limitless. And when I say that, people are like, no, we are limitless. No, you know, you're not coming from where I'm coming from. I think
I get it.
That's what exactly. But you have those kind of conversations with people and they think you're
that's why I say you sound crazy, because like they're not.
And
that's why I don't. There are a lot of things I won't necessarily talk about on my channel. And that's just because I mean, I guess I'm going to take it to the sort of the hermetic law, like that the whole Kabbalion thing, like, and I always said, like, sometimes you can say something to someone and they're not ready to hear it, and it can either go right through them or it can hurt them. And like, that was kind of where I stood with it now, but it's still the before, but that's still the basic theme. The theme is only those with ears to hear can hear what's being, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not ready to hear what it is I'm talking about, you're not gonna be able to hear it. And you may even attack me for it, because you may become threatened or angry, and I don't even want to deal with it. Like, I will be happy to sit over here and privately do all my cool things and not talk, because I've actually talked about lots of weird, cool things on my channel, but there's still things that I'm not prepared to talk about on my channel.
Well, I understand. It's that, to go to the Bible, that's, you know, my route is you don't throw pearls to swine, because why? And I mean, that sounds like you're calling people.
No, yeah, it sounds awful when they put it that way. But no, basically, well, me and my husband just had this mundane conversation about this. I met someone, and it became very apparent to me quickly in the conversation that there was no point trying to talk to them about any kind of political thing, because they just weren't going to hear my side of things. They were very, very adamant and staunch about what they were saying. I was just like, I'm not going to argue with you. Like, either you can hear me or you can't. And that's the kind of mentality. But the kinds of things I'm talking about, I always get a Bible quote in my head from that too. Like, I was not raised Christian at all, but I was raised in a Christian society. So obviously I know some Bible quotes.
Right.
And like, I'd always, when I'm thinking about this kind of thing, what pops in my head always is when Jesus told his disciples that all that I can do, you can do and more. That's what I'm talking about. Like, they say this man walked on water, and like, I believe people can do things like that.
Oh, I do too.
But it's how do you get there? And that's the part of my path that I'm on. And it kind of freaks me out a little bit, honestly. Like, my ego gets a little weird on me. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's weird. It's uncomfortable.
Gosh, this totally just goes along with what my husband and I were saying just maybe 15 minutes before I came on here. He right now is immersed in the fourth way, which is Gurdjieff and Ouspensky. I'm not going to explain everything to you guys. You can look it up. He's gone into this for a while and has left. For a while, he and I were doing videos on my channel, I think. They're all gone now because he kind of like veered off it. But he's back in again. But we were talking about individuals being able to sort of, I'm going to explain it badly, but sort of being able, the potential of what a human being has.
Right.
But first understanding that it's almost like how I said it was, you become humble first before you are able to recognize your potential. Because if you just have ego and you think, oh yeah, I can do that,
Yeah.
and you're not going to put in the effort to actually be able to manifest what you already can do if you first don't become humble and recognize self. And I said to him, oh, you mean like know yourself? And he goes, yes, the book talks about know thyself, no, but not just know, but know, which kind of goes with the idea of sovereignty.
Yeah. 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 And I guess self-mastery is another.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which was always my goal. But like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just, I'm just walking, and I just kind of go where they lead, and I'll figure it out. But
yeah, you will. You definitely will. I mean, that's the path, right? Yeah. It's so exciting. And we totally like went off. Okay, Magick. Okay, here we go. Okay. I know there's a delay in the fact what we are saying and then what they hear. So, okay. Oh, wow. Okay, let me go back. Okay. War and Peace says, when I'm asked to explain magic, I say this: I am hungry. I want the apple. Making the apple levitate and float over to me is not magic. That's a movie. I like that. But we're limitless.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. But we're limitless.
See, my brain says, no, I can't pick up I can't levitate the apple to me, but maybe I can figure out how to rearrange all the molecules and make it disappear over there and appear right before me. Like, again, that sounds crazy. I know that sounds crazy, but I just know that there's a way to make that apple move without me getting up and doing it. I don't know how to do that. I don't pretend to understand how to do that, but like, it's nothing is as solid as we think it is. Nothing is as firm and real as we think it is.
No, it's not. That's right. And what I've said before in past live streams and past videos is the potential for us to be able to make that apple appear, levitate, whatever, come to us is there. We live, and this is also magical practitioner thought,
right?
Witch thought. We live in a world, in a shared reality where it is not possible.
Right. But
if we lived in a shared reality where everybody believed that was of course, that's a natural thing that happens, then we could do it.
It would certainly be easier. Yeah.
It would, right? Because if we all, well, it depends on how the universe works too, right?
There are laws. Yes, there are rules. But if you stay within those rules and you manipulate things through the rules, then it should be possible.
But don't laws suggest there is no room for manipulation because it's capital T truth?
Again, my understanding, okay, see, look, I've been reading these books, and when I read the books, I'm like, yeah, I get it right here in my heart, but in my head, I'm like, how do I make this work? But like, I know I can already do what you're talking about because I do it all. I got this house by doing that. Like, I know how to manifest. I just don't know how to manifest. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I have steps I take, but like, as far as knowing how to manipulate the universe, if you will, like, I don't know how to do that. And that's the part that I'm struggling with, because I know I could do more if I could just logically unlock it. Because a lot of things, like the way that I manifest, like, I know the steps I take to manifest, but I have to be using the system. I have to be working in the system somehow to do that. And I don't see that correlation. I don't understand it. And it's frustrating for me. But my understanding is that you can use, you can use one law that's more important, stronger, whatever you want to say, against a weaker one. So like, for the same, like, thou shalt not kill, though we have the death penalty.
Yeah.
Because you're still breaking a rule, but you're breaking a rule, or not, breaking a rule. You're using one rule against another in order to get it done or whatever. That's sort of a worldly example. Again, I don't pretend to logically understand any of it.
Right. So in the idea with the apple, you could use the law of synchronicity. That would then, someone has an apple, they're going to throw it to you. Hey, you want this apple, Dru? It's thrown to you. You catch it. Oh my God, the apple levitated and made its way to you.
That's so certainly, yeah, because the way that I understand it is, it's kind of like cheating. It's not, you're not breaking anything. You're just bending things. You're
influencing that person to throw the apple to you so that it levitates or teleports and gets to you.
Yeah. Something like that.
That's kind of like how magic works. Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, depending on what it is you're doing. Absolutely. You are energetically judging something that might judge something else, that might judge something else.
Right. Right. I mean, yeah. I'm just thinking about all this. Yeah.
There was another point I was going to make, something you said. I can't remember now.
We were talking about the laws.
I kind of like, the reason this resonates so clearly within me, again, goes back to sacred geometry. I can't help it. The first time I ever heard that term, I had no idea what they were talking about, but like, it was like a lightning rod went through me, and I was like, that's important. That means something. Yeah. And it just, I've always, before I was even on a real distinct spiritual path, I was always so annoyed that math eludes me so completely, because I felt in my core that math is like the foundation, it's the building blocks, it's the, like, it's important. And like in sacred geometry, you know, numbers are frequency and vibration and yada yada, like what make up the universe. And like, the universe is constructed according to very specific mathematical laws, which, you know, all of this, to like the Fibonacci sequence, whatever, you know, like all of this always resonated deeply inside of me. And so when I hear this idea that there are these laws, well, I don't care what you call them, which, you know, there are different, you know, schools of thought for that, but like, that makes sense to me, that there are these sort of rules, that there are these underlying truths to existence, and that they can be manipulated in a way, if you understand how, to affect great change, not only in the self, but in the world around.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been super caught up on, like, what is it? Why is it? Like, I've never, like, I don't care. I've never really, like, people will be like, well, what's the point? Or, you know, why would God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, create the world and whatever? I'm like, I don't really care. Like, I've never really, that's not, I don't mind. I'm along for the ride. Like, I don't need that information. And like, I think that's probably why it's also easier for me to suspend disbelief and to try to this is not real to me. Like, it's real. It's very real to me in this moment as I sit here. But like, you know, everything is energy, and energy is eternal. However you want to word that, the soul, like right. Whatever you want to call that, that's the real part to me. So that's why I want to step into this space of looking at, yeah, making the apple do whatever, like getting the person to throw it to me or whatever that looks like. Like, I want to be in that space, because if this is a dream, if it's a thought process, if it's a whatever this is, like
the matrix.
Well, yeah, whatever it is, like, there are ways to get around.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do that better than I do right now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why are we practicing magic? What are we doing? Like, why are you practicing magic if it's not to use whatever terms you want, but manipulate energy and affect change?
Right. Right.
And I just want to do that in bigger ways. But like I said, my ego kind of starts to, it's like, I don't know what it's like, but there's a part of me that's like, what if you start thinking you're all powerful? Or, you know what I mean? Like, you start getting a big head because you're doing certain things.
Yeah.
Like that, I don't want that. I don't want any part of that. Or even like, that's another part of Cometicism that freaks me out, because they'll be like, okay, so when you're doing this work, this ritual, this spell, this divination, whatever it is, if the god is not cooperating with you, you threaten the god. And I'm like, that is uncomfortable for me. I don't know what to say about it. They used to threaten deity. Like, that makes me uncomfortable.
That makes me uncomfortable too. That makes me uncomfortable. And that's a big part of like the high magic, where you are commanding.
That's the sovereignty part. Yeah. And I get what you're saying. Like, I get it, but there's something in me I got to work on. I got some shadow work to do or something, because it makes me uncomfortable. I'm not that good at standing in my sovereignty, I guess. I'm just a little person here. It's weird.
Because I think that, yeah, that commanding and the ego, yeah, it's, yeah.
I guess I never thought it was quite so weird when people would talk about, commanding demons or.
Right.
Because in my mind, I do see these things on different levels.
Right, me too.
It's not that something necessarily is good or bad, but it's just, I don't know how to describe that without sounding new agey. I really don't. Like, they're different vibrations for me. They vibrate at different frequencies.
Yep.
And so a lower frequency thing is
exactly
to have dominion over. A higher frequency thing,
yeah, I totally get you. It's like, because when doing mediumship or doing seances, if an unruly spirit, no problem commanding that thing to get the fuck
right.
out,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Get out of here. Go
right.
away.
Go. This is my house. You live
yeah.
Yeah. Get the yeah. It's that the role of a parent when you're telling your kids, I said no, is different than telling, for me, like my dad, no. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Let me look, because we have
again, we've gone.
I know. Like 10 minutes. What a there was Magick, we already said. Shadow said, I believe magic is a natural process that involves the manipulation of energy. Yeah, Aleister Crowley's definition. Yep, I agree. Okay, War and Peace. I'm more on the concentration of energy than manipulation, but each to their own. I think everyone what works.
I can see that too. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
That to me feels kind of like a Reiki thing. Obviously, you're manipulating energy, but you're also building it and
directing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that both. I think I do both of those things in my magic.
I think I do too. I mean, I think when I think of witchcraft, I think when I'm thinking of manipulating energy, or like sort of pulling energy in and then taking that energy and directing it or building it, like you said. So yeah, manipulating and concentrating energy definitely is like a magical thing, working with energy. Hey, Per. We have like 7 minutes left. Shadow Sun also said, the description of breaking the law and using a different rule reminds me of contractual agreements and loopholes. And yeah, I also think ego gets in the way. Yeah. I think sometimes we build resistance within ourselves, whether it's beliefs, and then this sort of falls into shadow work, doing shadow work with yourself, trying to dissolve the beliefs that have been sort of trained within us. Mm-hmm. And I think that definitely stops us in looking at the ways where we can make that apple move.
It probably would be beneficial to do a lot of inner child work, because children, it's until somebody tells them, no, that doesn't work, or that's not how that is, that we're just wide open when we're little like that. If you can get into that sort of mind state in a magical space, it could be interesting.
Yes, it can be. Right. I mean, and then that makes me think about, working with other people in that magical space. Amazing things can happen. So we have like 6 minutes, 5-6 minutes. Any last thoughts on magic versus witchcraft that you want to share before?
Ultimately, I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters what you call it. But again, for me, it was more of an exercise. I was toward the end of last year, I was feeling very boxed in. And there are lots of internal and external reasons for that. But so my thought process is, I was trying to push beyond those limits. And so I started to think about these things. And I was noticing, and again, this is going to be like the odd random one or two here, but when you're looking for something or when you're in a space, those things jump out at you. So I was seeing things around me that, like the comment about why would you call yourself a magical practitioner? You're a witch. That were reinforcing and sort of making me uncomfortable. And so I just started trying to push past these, what I felt perceived boundaries created by this idea of witchcraft or magic. And that also comes from, like, because I've had the experience of dealing with people who were on a more ceremonial, high magic path, who were kind of snobby, shall we say?
What word is she going to use? What word is she going to use? Because so many popped into my
So I mean, I guess it was just me trying to start a discussion to get people thinking about things maybe in a different way than they had before, certainly to get myself thinking about things in a different way. Like I said, ultimately, I don't think it matters if you're a witch, you practice witchcraft. If you're a magical practitioner, you practice magic. If you're something in between, or however you say that. But I think it's important to have these kinds of conversations so that we can start to think about these walls that we build and maybe push past them, or at least not be so uncomfortable with other people around us pushing past them.
Yeah. Because I think I definitely agree. I think we can learn from each other, which we have said before. And anything that at least I personally learn from, it can only be a benefit to me.
Even if I don't keep it, even if it doesn't fit, like just being exposed to it, it can only better me in some way, better how I do things or how I think about things. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Learning only expands our consciousness.
Well, I hope I didn't get too weird or often on a tangent, but like this is the headspace I exist in these days. Like I'm just all over the place with all of these, with the sovereignty part of my path. It's very strange.
I loved it. I love the conversation. And I know we have some other topics. We'll have to do this again soon. And thank you everybody for joining in our conversation and chatting with us. And yes, the next live stream I plan on doing is on May 1st. Woohoo! I don't know who I'm talking with yet. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it'll be 1 p.m. Pacific time again. So make sure you all jot that down on your calendars so that you can join again. And thank you, Dru. Check out all her links that I have in the information section to find out where you can find her and her wonderful magical products that she sells on her website. And thank you all. Thank you, Dru.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Much love, everybody.
Bye.
Blessed be.